Welcome to the Kiwimana Bay.
Hey, hi everyone, this is Gary here from the Kiwimana Buzz. We're a podcast where we talk about bees, gardening and life, and we interview beekeepers and gardeners from around the world to try and get different perspectives on how things work. And today we're actually interviewing a interesting guy who's from Dunedin, a guy called Raymond Huber, and he's a writer of children's books. And he's just written a new book called Flight of the Honey Bee. The book's like it's designed for children, but it does touch on a couple of issues relating to bees around the world. And it's about issues of pesticides, the pests that are wasps or yellow jackets. So I encourage you guys to sit down and have a look at this book and see what you think. And it's a great book. And it would make a fantastic Christmas present for any young beekeepers out there, or if you're trying to inspire some young beekeepers. So in the show notes for this podcast are http:/kiwimana.co.nz/33. And thanks guys, and we'll probably see you next week. Hi everyone, this is Gary here from the Kiwimana Buzz, and today we've got Raymond Huber, who's a writer who was born in Christchurch but now lives in Dunedin. He's married with 3 children, has written several children's books about bees. His latest book is called Flight of the Honey Bee. So Raymond, tell us a bit about yourself and how you got started in the world of beekeeping.
Hello, Gary. I should say first that's pronounced Huber. I should have told you that before we started.
Sorry, Raymond.
Well, I've been a hobby beekeeper for a while. I got introduced to it by some elderly beekeepers who are related to my wife, and they gave me a beehive for my 40th birthday and offered to teach me all about bees. And at first I was quite nervous because I'd been scared of bees when I was a child, but as I got to know the bee and all its amazing abilities, I became just completely fascinated by them and began to read research about them and things like that. And it was about at that point that I was leaving teaching, so I'd been a teacher for 10 years, and getting into writing. So it just seemed that they were the ideal subjects to begin my writing career.
Oh, that's fantastic. Is that your first book was Sting, was that right?
That's right. It was it's a novel for junior readers about a honeybee.
Okay.
Possibly it's the only one I can find in the world that's from the point of view of a honeybee. But,
and that's Ziggy, is it?
That's right. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
It's Ziggy's a drone, which was a bit of a challenge given the reputation drone bees have as being lazy.
Being lazy, yeah.
Yes, that's right. And of course it couldn't have any sex in the book, which is the only thing drone bees are good for because it's a book for children. So I had to make Ziggy a fairly special drone bee. Yeah. So there's a fantasy element to it.
Oh, okay. Oh, sounds good. And the second one, was that Wings?
Wings, yes, that's
and that's
another,
like a sequel to
story.
It was the same story, same people?
Same characters.
Yeah.
Wasn't really not so much a sequel as just a different story about the same bees, and this time I wanted to write something about the pesticide threats, so I had them in Tokyo trying to track down a new pesticide that's wiping out the bees there, made by a chemical company called Slayer. Which,
good name.
This is not related to any pesticide company we know and love.
No, well, I know Slayer are a heavy metal band, but not a pesticide company. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. And so what motivates you, Raymond, to actually write books for children?
Being a parent of 3 children, I very quickly discovered, having my own children, just what a joy it was to read books to them and see them respond to stories. And being a teacher, of course, once again, I had a big audience there for whatever I read to them. And I soon got to learn what worked with an audience of children and what sort of stories they enjoyed. And when teaching started to become quite stressful, I saw an avenue opening up for me as a writer, and I had all that material there already in my brain, percolating away about books and what worked in a good story.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you don't currently have bees, at the moment, because I think you're house sitting, aren't you?
That's right. We sold our house and at the end of last year, so we're doing a bit of a house sitting experience. So I had to get rid of the beehive and sell that. And but when we settle down again, I can't wait to get another one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's hard to do that when you're travelling around a lot, isn't it? Have a beehive.
A little bit. Although once I did travel from Christchurch to Dunedin at 5 hours with a box of bees in the back of the car, which was an interesting experiment.
and none escaped?
A few of them got out into the car. Yes, that provided some drama. We got there safely.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you started beekeeping when someone gave them to you as a present, is that right?
That's right, yes. And I had to learn my beekeeping skills just by doing it mainly. And this elderly couple gave me some advice. And there were a few swarms along the way, and I was quite lucky though. It's a very sheltered part of it was in the city that we had them. But the garden was surrounded by bush, and it didn't seem to matter if they escaped now and then. The neighbours didn't mind.
Oh, that's good. Very understanding neighbours. That's fantastic.
That's very important with having a beehive, I think. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what's your most exciting thing you've done with beekeeping so far?
With beekeeping?
Yeah, with beekeeping.
Well, I think the thing that excites me most has been, well, I'm not a farming type of person, so I haven't had animals, farm animals. I know bees aren't farm animals, but they're kind of the closest thing I've come to managing a whole lot of animals in one place, if you can call them that. And that's why I think I was a bit nervous about them, plus the fact that, bees they're very much a wild creature that we give a home to. And so there was a kind of nervousness there. But the excitement for me was seeing all the things I'd read about and the research and the incredible abilities of navigation and intelligence and dancing, and all those things just came to life year after year. And I saw the bees, air conditioning the hive, and I used the propolis to heal a sore throat, and I could see the bees navigating their way around my neighbourhood. It just came to life. It was fantastic. Mm.
Yeah, I must commend you on your book and the artwork, and it's quite amazing, isn't it?
Yes, the latest one, Flight of the Honey Bee, is not illustrated by me. It's illustrated by a scientist, Brian Lovelock, and he's done a fantastic job of just capturing the accuracy of the bee, but also giving it a bit of an artistic flavour as well with his expressionist backgrounds. And I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, because Margaret's my partner and co-host.
Yes.
She commented that you're the only one she's ever seen that actually the right colours. So,
well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the kids books can present bees as a little bit cartoonish, can't they?
Yeah, and like very bright yellow and bright black and stuff. So no, it's an awesome book, and thanks for sending us a copy of it. It's really nice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And because I think you touched on pesticides in your first book, and also a little bit in this one. And recently the warehouse and placemakers have vowed to stop selling neonicotinoids, which is one type of chemical. What do you think consumers can do to encourage other stores to follow suit?
Plenty. I'm very, very, very pleased to hear that. A couple of years ago, one of the things I did was put in a complaint to the Advertising Standards Authority, which controls the quality and the fairness of our advertisements in New Zealand. And as a result of that, the wording on those advertisements from Yates and other pesticide suppliers on the advertisements, they had to change the wording. They took out the wording which said that these chemicals, it's the new neonicotinoids.
Yeah.
It said that they were friendly to beneficial insects, and although I lost my case, the overall case, they removed those voluntarily, those words.
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely.
obviously bees are beneficial insects, and they are the least friendly chemicals to bees that you can get because they persist. They stay in the plant for the life of the plant, right from the seed to the flowering to the pollen, and the bees will pick them up.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of them have actually got a half-life of over 1,000 days, so they can actually move to the next year's crop, so even if they may be planting something one year, but then the next year they might be planting something else that the bees love, and then they've still got the same chemical in it, so.
Wow.
Yeah, it's shocking.
No, that's terrible. Yeah, so complaining about advertisements, actually going into the stores like going into Bunnings or the garden plants, and after handing over the money, or just before handing over the money, saying, "Oh, did you know that spray over there that called Confidor is incredibly toxic to honeybees, and that shouldn't be in the hands of home gardeners, and it's banned in Europe at the moment," that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just let them know. They may not be aware of it there,
They should be, but good to do that. Probably better to speak to the
product out of many, isn't it?
What's that, sorry?
It's just one product out of many they sell, I guess.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you could argue that Roundup's just as bad, isn't it? Some of the effects that has on things and people, and on people too.
Yes, that's also far too widely used, isn't it?
Absolutely. So what do you think is the biggest issue facing beekeeping today in New Zealand?
In New Zealand, I would say, obviously we haven't got what they call colony collapse disorder, but what we do have is problem with Varroa, and at the moment the controls for that are mostly chemical. And what concerns me is that there'll be a reliance then on the chemical controls rather than trying to find alternative ways of controlling Varroa, which there are, I gather. I see that you've been working on one, haven't you? Oh, I've seen one on your website. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but
yeah. Well, we use a thing called Apilifar, which is a time wall based one, and we also use oxalic acid with a vaporizer. And
oxalic acid, right? Yes, that was the one I was thinking of.
Oh, okay. And also,
which is still chemical, but it's not as toxic as some of the ones that are used.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're also looking at importing a formic acid product probably end of the year, which is called Modaway, which is like a formic acid gel. So,
but the thing I think even more than the chemical use of chemicals in beehives that I think just ordinary people, not necessarily beekeepers, can do is to provide the environment that bees love. So, to do a lot more planting of wild places, to let the patch of their lawn grow, for example, which I did, when we had a home. Yeah. And, you'll just see the insects flocking to your garden, including bees.
Oh, absolutely. That's fantastic.
Giving bees those wild places, and that's something that everyone can do, because New Zealand has lost its wild bee population. We don't want to lose any more.
No. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the website Trees for Bees.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, that's a really good site, and I'll add that to the show notes. And it actually has different areas in New Zealand and recommended plants to plant for the bees. So it's really good. Yeah,
that's great.
Because we get a lot of people coming up to us at events and stuff, that aren't beekeepers, and say, "Oh, how can we help?" And that's my recommendation as well, is to plant some bee-friendly food if you can't keep bees.
Yep, that's right.
And so, absolutely. So you're not currently keeping bees at the moment, but you will be when you get back to your main house, though.
When we buy a house again, yes.
Yeah. So you're going to be probably buying in Dunedin or somewhere else?
I think we'll go back to Dunedin. It's a pretty lovely place to live. Yeah.
I've heard it's lovely. I've never actually been there. I must go down there.
And one of the things that's happening in Dunedin at the moment is that there's a new business that's renting out beehives to urban gardens. So, just to home gardens in the city, really. And that's something I'd really like to investigate, or just to support when we go back there. It's that idea of encouraging just ordinary families to have a hive, and it's managed by a beekeeper, of course.
Yeah.
But people can then choose to be as involved as they want to be with the hive.
Absolutely. Is that the one? Is it Hive Times or something?
It's called Rent a Hive.
Oh, Rent a Hive. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any others in New Zealand that do that, but I know there is in other countries. But
there's a few around. There's one in Havelock North, and I think there's a couple in Auckland as well that do it. So
great,
absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that was the one you talked about in your blog, wasn't it?
Yes, I mentioned it in my latest blog.
Yeah, so that looks like a great idea. I'll have to get those guys onto the show. Do you actually physically know them?
I have met Murray. Yes, you can get in contact with him through his website, the Rent a Hive website.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll see if he wants to contact. Yeah, I'll see if he wants to come on the show and talk about that thing, because I think that's a fantastic idea to help encourage people to keep bees.
Yes, and to become comfortable with bees and see that they're not out to kill them. They're not aggressive creatures at all, unless provoked.
No, yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the worst thing you can do is swat at them, like a lot of people do.
Yes, that's right.
They think they're flies or something.
Yes.
But
I was reading today. Sorry, I was reading today that, and we all know that bees die when they sting us. But I was reading how they sometimes take 2 or 3 days to bleed to death. So they're not going to. It's not a pleasant way to go, and you don't go around stinging people for fun.
No, absolutely. Yeah, because you've studied the bees quite a lot. Is it true that when they sting a wasp or another bee, do they still die, or does it only when they sting mammals?
It's generally when they sting mammals or animals, creatures with a thicker skin. So, wasps are fairly thin-skinned, you might say. And the bee sting just goes in and out, and they don't generally die when they sting a wasp. And if they sting something, say, size of a dog or bigger, and a human, of course, then the sting will just get hooked in the skin because it's got those barbs, and they can't pull it out. The skin is too thick, if you like, impenetrable to pull it back out with the barbed bee stings. Yeah,
true, very true. But I understand queens they don't have the barb, do they, apparently?
I'm not sure about that. I know they can sting many times. That might be the case then.
Yeah. No,
like stings, it just enables them to sting like a hypodermic needle, as wasps do.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's great. And so your book is available all around the world, isn't it? Because I understand it's on Amazon and other places.
Yes, that's right. The latest one in particular has been published in America and the UK and Denmark at the moment. The first 2 were published mostly in Australia and New Zealand. So yes, Amazon's the place to look generally for my books, where you can buy them.
Yeah, I'll add that to the show notes, because we have a lot of our listeners are from America. So this book would make a fantastic Christmas present, guys. Especially if you're trying to teach your kids about how important bees are.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, no, it's really good. So, I'll add that on there. Hopefully we'll get some sales from America for you. And so, we've touched on before you've got a blog. So what's the best place? Is that the best place for people to get in touch with you, Raymond?
Yes, I have a contact page on my blog. And, it's always welcome people to get in touch. I have people asking me some interesting questions from around the world about various things. Had one the other day about wild bees, which I couldn't quite answer because they're quite different to honeybees.
Yeah. What not the normal honeybee? You mean just the pollinators?
They call them wild bees. They're more like fly. They look like flies. They're much smaller and they're completely different actually to bees, but they call them wild bees, whereas honeybees that don't live in a beehive are called feral bees.
Yeah,
so that's how I distinguish them. The feral bees would be a honeybee that lives in a tree. Whereas wild bees are a completely different species of bee.
Yeah, we see a few of those around here, the native pollinators, like the small ones, aren't they?
Native bees, yes.
Yes.
That's the other name for them. I forgot.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Have you heard about these huge hornets in China lately?
Yes, I saw that. Saw the photo of them. I wrote about the Japanese hornet in one of my children's books because they were such a great monster to have in a children's book. But yes, they're fairly fearsome.
Yeah, because I think, isn't the Japanese bees the only bee that's actually worked out that it can actually, it basically smothers the hornet? They like crowd around it and...
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
The Western honeybee is defenseless, but the Japanese honeybee, which is a similar species, very similar species, has worked out through trial and error how to jump on the hornet scout when it comes into the bee's hive. Yeah. And they heat it up to just within a degree of their own deaths, but enough to kill the hornet.
Wow.
With heat and suffocation, basically. So yes, about 45 degrees, I think they get to.
Wow. Yeah,
but then they have to remove all trace of the hornet from the beehive because any scent that's left there will attract the other hornets.
Yeah, they're very adaptable little creatures, aren't they?
Yes, incredibly. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the first books that got me excited about bees was a really big, thick book, and I thought, how could anyone write that much about honeybees? And it was a collected research of Professor James Gould. It was just called The Honeybee.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing sort of collection of all his studies of bee navigation and all the intelligent sort of behaviours like their ability to count and tell the time and how he actually tested to see how they did it. It was wonderful.
Oh, that's fantastic. So would that be your favourite bee-related book?
I think, apart from my own.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
My favourite, that would be one of the top three, The Honey Bee by James Gould. My favourite one is called Sweetness and Light, which is an English book by Hattie Ellis, and that it's just a beautifully written book about the history of beekeeping, the history of the scientific natural history of the bee itself, and she visits various beekeepers around the world and tastes honey and things. It's just a lovely book.
Oh, okay, sounds good. So is it kind of more like a travel kind of diary thing, or is it?
No, it's not. It's a mixture of kind of journalistic writing and quite poetic writing in a way. She just combines all the elements, the history and the folklore and the science in a very readable fashion, I think.
Oh, fantastic! I'll look that up. Oh, that's great. You've also written a textbook about beekeeping as well, haven't you? I noticed that on Amazon the other day.
Yes, it's a short ebook.
Yeah.
About honeybees. Basically, I wrote that for children again, but it's kind of aimed at being readable for any age, but especially so that children could understand it.
Oh, that's good.
Homed in on some of the remarkable aspects of the honeybee's life and basically the 20,000 years of history, and then about how they make honey, how intelligent they are, and how beekeeping has developed.
Yeah. Yeah, because honeybees, as you probably know, they've been around a lot longer than humans, haven't they?
Yes, they kind of spread. I think humans and honeybees work together a little bit in a way, because I think the humans helped the honeybees spread around the world when they took them with them to pollinate their crops.
Yeah.
So in a way, very closely related. But yes, initially the honeybee and the flower, of course, were the ones who helped each other spread around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thanks very much for coming along today, Raymond. It's been really good.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, so good luck with your book, and encourage everyone out there to go and get a copy. It's called Flight of the Honeybee, and it's by Raymond Huber. And we'll put a link on there anyway to have a look, to get they can have a look at the book. And have you got any other plans, any other books coming out soon?
My next book is going to be a visitor's guide to New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
So I won't actually have any honeybees on it.
Oh, okay. Well, you could always put like visiting the honey centre in Arataki and things like that. So.
That's a good idea.
I understand.
I should read. Pardon?
Yeah, I understand that's quite a big tourist attraction down in Havelock North. So.
Oh yes, I have visited that one.
Yeah,
and it is. It's great. They've got just about everything related to bees and honey you can imagine.
Oh, okay. Is it? I've never actually been there. So is it a big shop?
It's reasonably big. It's got a sort of an area for school groups to go and visit, where children can sit, and it's got a whole lot of displays. But then it's got like a shop with the honey cosmetics and honey tasting, so all the honey related products. And then it has a children's section with toys, toy bees, everything from stuffed bees to bee puzzles and bee books. It's very, very
awesome.
well designed.
You got your books in there?
I have got the latest one, yes, The Flight of the Honeybees in there.
Fantastic. Oh, well, thanks, Raymond, for coming along. If you just stay on the line there, we'll just end the show there. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll the show notes for this one will be kiwimana.co.nz/33. So you can check out the links to those books that we mentioned today. So thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.